Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I've actually got another scrunchie video. However, this one is a little bit different to my other ones. This one I'm using a stretch net. As you can see here, I've already had it cut out. I've only got two of these, so these are going to be whoever gets in first gets in first. So we've got holographic sequins on it. And as you can see, or may not be able to see, I'm not quite sure, but you should be able to see that it is see-through, so you should be able to see my hand through there. So what I'm going to do with this one, I won't be using actual white elastic or beige or anything like that. I have gone out and I have purchased this swimwear elastic. Now it does stretch and it does come back to its original state. So this is the first time for me actually using this. So I might have a couple of issues. Hopefully not. Cross our fingers it doesn't happen. Okay, now I don't have any of this fluoro apricot, fluoro whatever. It's not a fluoro orange as such, but I am going to use my Gutterman cotton that I have a small spool of here. And the same, it's in orange, and I've got it on my bobbin as well. So I have pink, a spool, sorry, neighbour's dogs. Sorry about that. It seems to happen quite regularly when I'm sitting over here. So I apologise for my neighbour's dogs in advance. So I have pink cotton reel in my machine and a pink bobbin as well. So I'm just going to turn this on and take this out. Now I don't worry about discarding the thread because there's too much on there, so I can use this for other projects. And I will pop it into, I have a little bobbin case holder. I've got to get more of these because, as you can see, I've got a heap of white on there because I use white more frequently and I don't want to have to be stopping and starting. So I'm just going to pop this one in here. I will be getting a larger case of that. And I'm just going to take my pink cotton reel, or my reel with the pink cotton on it off. And I've got this little caddy here. Pull it out. This has multiple cotton threads in it. These ones are from little sewing kits that I purchased some time ago, and I'll use them for like hand stitching and anything. So I'll pop that back in there. This I actually purchased from Spotlight. The price, I think it was about $25. I'm not quite sure on it because I did buy it some time ago. This is basically like their no-name brand collection. Simcoe or something like that it's called. Sorry, I'll look it up later and I'll find out what the actual brand is, and then I will link it below in where the comment section is. Now, so like I said, we've got this swimwear elastic, and then I just need to grab my glasses, which I did not bring. I won't be a moment. Okay, my age, things are getting a little bit hard to see. That's really fine focus. So I'm long-sighted, I'm not nearsighted, which means that I need glasses to read anything and that are in fine print, or as we're doing here, threading the bobbin. So I just got to find the end of the thread. When I find it, there it is. Okay. Now this is my Simplicity sewing machine, which I also purchased at Spotlight. Now I have used in the past Bernina's, Singer's, Elna's, Brothers, and Huskies, which is Husqvarnas. My mum actually owns a digital Husqvarna, the first one that was ever released many years ago. Probably about, I think it was about 30 or 40 years ago, but it was the first digital one that Husky had bought out. Husky, of course, is a nickname for Husqvarna. So Mum has had that many times, many years sewn. Mum usually uses it nearly every day because Mum is also a craft person. I'm like my mum. I take after my mum on the craft side of things. And they've now said the last thing that's been fixed on Mum's was the actual pedal for it. It's an electronic pedal, and they can't do any more for it. So I think it's had a pretty good run, and especially for a Husqvarna, because they're not known for their good quality with their sewing machines. Some people might disagree with me, but I had been earlier stages using a Husky, and yeah, I would never buy a Husky. So if you're looking at buying a Husky, make sure you do your research first. If you're wanting to start out as a beginner, there's different brands out there. I don't know in other countries, but in Australia we have quite a few different brands. But I'd probably be starting out with a small brother. If you're just doing basic stitching, if you want to get up into fancier stuff later on, you can upgrade your machine. I've just got some thread in there. Okay, so I've just put the bobbin in here. I'm going to replace the little cover. So this is, like I said, this is the Simplicity. I think it's retailing at the moment. I bought it, I think it's retailing, sorry, for $550 through Spotlight. I think Spotlight's the only place, because I think it's Simplicity, actually the company that makes the actual patterns for different types of projects, actually bought this Simplicity sewing machine out for Spotlight only. If I'm wrong, I apologize in advance. Now this is the digital one. I can't remember the actual full model name. Again, I will place that down below so that you can read which model it is. Now, with saying that I've used those other machines, there are plenty other types of machines on the market, ones that will stitch faster, like your Jukies and that. I've heard rave reviews for Jukies, but at the moment I'm nowhere near needing a Juki, so this is doing me fine, and I actually give this 5 gold stars above all the other sewing machines that I've actually used. This way outdoes, way surpasses the Huskies. I put this as the Rolls Royce of sewing machines, that from the ones that I've used. Then I'd probably go a Brother, then a Singer, and then so forth, and Husky as last. So that's just my review on them. A very short one. However, nonetheless, we're going with Simplicity Digital. Now this has 100 settings, and you've out of those 100 settings, you've got, I think it's 60 different types of patterns, 40 different types of letters, and so on and so forth. So you have your different buttonhole features, your different zigzag features. You can add it to a memory, so that you just press your memory button and what's in your memory, and you can actually scroll through your memory as well. So I'll put this is, where am I? This is my Gutterman, and it is, like I said, 100% cotton, and its SKU, or its serial number is CA2776. I don't know if you can see it there, but hopefully you can. Okay, so that will be going up the top here. Now this is my top of the range. There's others that are actually the Rolls Royce of cottons, but I'm not actually purchasing them. Like I said, I don't do enough sewing to equate for me to have the really expensive brands that are a lot better. This is better than just your normal everyday run the mill from your supermarkets or your cheaper brand cottons. Less breakage and longer life as far as I'm concerned, and it's great quality. Like, I'm pulling like hella hard on that and it's not even breaking. So that's our Gutterman. And I'll just snip a little bit off the end here. Oh, wrong one. Took it off the one in the bobbin. Snip a little bit off the end. Now, just going to make sure that I get around here and around. And make sure that you have it threaded correctly. If you don't, it will play up. This is something I found with the Simplicity. I haven't found it with their other machines. You don't actually realize until you've sewn the fabric. This one, it's just the way the machine operates that it will make a hideous noise, and you'll see the cotton coming out and the needles acting weird as well, which is good in one instance, not so good in the other, but at least you'll find out earlier than going through and sewing up a whole project and not being able to see that. Or if you, like me, I check my project all the time to make sure that my stitches are correctly sewn. So I'm just going to thread this. I'm glad you're not seeing me because I'm going cross over here and I didn't even get it in the hole. Some of you are probably thinking, why aren't you using the automatic threading on the sewing machine, Marie? Well, I don't like using the auto threaders. I've only used it probably a few times in my whole life. I prefer to put it in by eye and hand. Now, I've just turned that one full, just gonna go another one to pull it up through. And in here, I don't know if you can see it or not, but in there you can see the bobbin thread. Now it's not quite up correctly, so I'll just grab a needle and pulling this out. I don't think the puppy across the road, well, he's a full grown dog, is liking the fact that there's people in my street that probably shouldn't be in my street. It's a good watchdog. Okay, so we've pulled that through. Okay, that's done. Now, I'm going to try, I've never sewn this thin of a stretch material before, I don't think. Well, I don't remember if I have done. So this is what they call the burrito method, because you've actually, once you get to the next section or the next step for making the, gee, I didn't cut that. It's a little bit crooked, but anyways, I'll fix that up after I've sewn it. That's a little bit, just a little smidgen crooked. Okay, don't know what happened there. That was really crooked. So that is a waste of material, everybody. But anyways, so just bring my machine forward a little bit. I'll match these two corners up with another, because it's so uneven down here. I'll okay. So what I'm going to do to help with not getting this stuck is I'm going to go in. Usually I start right close to the edge. With this one, I'm actually going to go in here. Now, some of you might have great ideas to how to alleviate this issue. Just going to sit there for a section. For a second, not a section. Okay. Now, hopefully, I've never sewn this type of material on this machine. I've never sewn really anything with, nothing with sequins on it before. So let's hope, hopefully, we'll get this done without any issues. I'm kind of hesitating for a bit because I'm kind of a bit skeptical at the moment what this would actually do. So I'm going to pop the little cap on where my spool of cotton is. This is another thing, you got to make sure that the locking in mechanism is done tight on there. Okay, so we're going to take a couple of stitches forward. We're going to do a back stitch. That's done. And just push reverse. And now, because we're actually going to be rolling into what they call the burrito method next, we should get as far back as possible. So I'm just going to take one more step back, or a couple of steps back. And now I'm going to help feed it through. I have it on the fastest speed setting, but I'm just taking it slowly, so the pressure of my foot, which I'm not going to show you because it's under my sewing desk, that means I'll have to stop, get on the sewing desk, try and, it's not going to work it. But I'm sure you understand. So I'm letting this part of my regular foot line up with this edge of the material. Now that I know that it's not actually going to take it into the machine or pucker it up, and I do put a little bit of tension on any of my sewn fabrics when I'm using a faster stitch, because I like to be able to guide it in as well. And that was a really bad cut. I think I actually cut this up in a hurry one day when I was trying to get a heap of material cut up at once. Really bad mistake. Okay, so I've done a back stitch there. Okay, and these are Fiskars. And it has a razor edge on it, so be very, very mindful of it. Do not cut it for any other purpose than material. I also have a rotary cutter as well. We're just snipping cotton at the moment. This is so I can use them like that on a flat edge. I prefer that to the normal scissors. Some people don't. They prefer, if they're cutting out material, if it's just straight material, they prefer to use a Perspex measuring guide or a piece of Perspex that's straight cut with their rotary cutter. Others that are cutting out patterns, they prefer the normal style of scissors, and there's so many different scissors on the market out there. These are the ones that I prefer to use. So if you are looking for a really good pair of scissors, make sure that you do your research, find out which one you think is going to suit you. These are lighter than some of the all stainless steel scissors. Like I've used some and dressmaking scissors. There's some really heavy duty ones out there, but like I said, these are my personal preference. If you want to use them, that's completely up to you. I'm not saying go ahead and buy it, but anyways, I'm not telling you to do that whatsoever. It's just a personal preference. Okay, so we got that bit done. We just got to snip. Wow, that is uber out. So push that way. I'm just going to trim these cotton pieces off. And we've done that one before. So this is really badly misshaped. I'll machine a little bit further that way. Just going to turn this on an angle so I can actually cut it. Now, I'm not even keeping this bit. I am just simply cutting this waste off, and it is waste. I should have actually had the material out properly. I don't really like cutting this type of fabric that has the sequins on it with my dressmaking scissors. I should have actually used my other pair of scissors, but I'm just going with this for the time being. Bring this back. Now, the burrito method. Oops. Okay, this is what we're going to do with the burrito method. Bring that seam that you just stitched across here, and what you do is you bring one side, either the top or the bottom, halfway in, and then you do exactly the same with the other side. Now, most will only do it this way. I'm actually going to fold it over like such, and then, actually this way, I turned it the wrong way. And then we're going to take this bottom one and I'm going to meet it up with the top. So now it kind of looks like a burrito, like folded like a burrito. Wrapped like a burrito. Made like a burrito. Kind of, just for this part. anyways, so we'll bring this out to the edge now, because it's such a really stretchy material. I'm going to actually turn this out to the raw edge, and it's a very raw edge, and then I'm going to find the same and try to have this so that it lines up perfectly. If it doesn't, so be it. It's going to be on the inside. I mean, it sounds like I don't give a damn about my projects, but I actually do. Sorry if those out there that think that that is a swear word. It's not an actual swear word term here in Oz. Well, most of us don't think it's a swear word, but this is really finicky material. Okay, that doesn't want to turn. It's a bit heavier with that sequin just there. Got it. Okay, so I'm going to take it. Oh, let's pop back out. I can just push that under. Now I'm going to pop that in here. Now I have the outside edge aligned with the center of my presser foot. And we're going to try and turn this out. These sequins are really pulling over because of the weight of them. It's actually heavier than the material itself, which sounds weird, but it's not. And these are only really, really thin ones. So let's have a little fight on our hands with this. Okay, I'm just going to roll it over with my fingers, using this finger to keep this edge flat, this finger. Use this finger to guide it. Now I'm going to go in. Just lift that up a bit and bring it across. That's better. Okay, now we're going to stitch through. Just keep a mind on, a watch on I should say, for that underneath piece. Okay, when you've been sewing it as long as what I have, you can run these off pretty quickly. I'm just taking my time with this one because, like I said, I haven't used this type of material on this machine. So okay, I'm just going to pause for a moment and then I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. So this bit has come across a little bit more over here, so I've got to make sure that I run that section along there. That's better. Using two hands to help guide. Plus a bit more taut helps with the sewing of it as well. Not too taut because, like I said, this is a uber stretch material and it's going to look all frazzled and everything. Just take your time when you're learning to do something. If you're a professional sewer, yeah, and you've never sewn scrunchies before, I'm sure you'll find this like an easy breeze. Maybe not if you're not used to using the burrito method. It's really up to the individual. But as a beginner, I highly suggest, you don't have to, but I highly suggest that you just take your time with it. I mean, I've been scrunchies scrunchies for years. So I've had to come in a little bit instead of running along here as a guide here in the center of the foot, only for the simple fact is it was turning under too much and it was going to get caught up. So that's moved a little bit. I just have to keep pulling that across. I'm actually going to put my needle down because I need to pull this around. For some reason it's really turning over now. Now what we do is we pull whole top, this top part section, just trim these threads off. Just be mindful you don't cut into your actual material. The best thing to use is embroidery scissors. My embroidery scissors are with another project at the moment, so that's why I'm using my Fiskars. Okay, it's really starting to turn under now. Okay, I've pulled that back across, placing that down. Now it's bunching up. Doesn't like it. Okay, I'm going to pull this out even more. Then you'll see where you sew that hem there, or edge, because it's not an exact hem. It would be turned over. I mean, unless you're using something that's doesn't need a completely folded over hem. It's really not playing the game now. It's starting to pull into the machine. It's probably where I may have hit a sequin and it's put it down in. It's catching on the hole where the needle goes down through. If I'm not using proper sewing terminology, I'm sorry, people. It is what it is. And hey, we're not all professional sewers. So I'm going to keep going. Now, where I started is just here, if you can see that. So what we do is we get to about 1.5 to 3 centimeters out, 3.5 centimeters. And then I'll show you how to turn it the right side in and then to finish it off. Now this has pulled a little bit. It's not quite in alignment, so I'm just going to pull that into alignment. Now if it was a cotton and not a stretch, you would be having really bad problems with getting them to align like that. It's only, I find, it's only because of it being stretch material. And I've broken a nail. Yay me. Trying to grow my natural nails out properly before I go and get a new set of acrylics on, so I apologise for having to pause there to get rid of that broken nail, but I didn't want to get caught on the material I'm pulling this thread in it. So, okay, we're back just about where we started from. I usually put 2 fingers in here, grab this finger, go down like that, so I've got enough room to turn it in the right way, and I'll show you that in a moment. Okay, with this, I'll just go down a little bit further. Now with this type of material, I can stretch it out a bit further, and you're wondering why I put my fingers in it. It's just as a guide. Make sure you're not running your stitches when you do that. I don't want to see anybody go and having bloody fingers where they've stitched their own fingers. And yes, it can happen. I remember when I first used the sewing machine, I caught the tip of my finger when my mum was teaching me, and I nearly freaked out, but it didn't stop me because cleaned up the blood, cleaned up my finger, put a band-aid on, and I kept going. So if you have something crazy like that happen, please, I don't want it to happen, but it may happen if you're a beginner, but just please be mindful where you place your fingers. Okay, so I've got 2 fingers there now. I always put a back stitch. Now my finger's pointing here. I'm not going that far because it's a stretch material. I'm just going to place a back stitch. Now most of you are thinking, why do I not have some excess fabric here for when I go to hem it? The reason being is you do not need it with scrunchies like you do with other projects. I have some people who've asked why I don't have that extra there. I make sure that I allow for it I don't cut it like a lot of other people do. I just turn that fabric in when I get to the end. It might be a little bit more tedious when I'm actually sewing over that section with any of my other projects. It's just how I find it's the easiest for me. So it's probably a big no-no in the professional sewer circle, but it's how I do it. Okay, so we've just done a back stitch. I'll just show you that again. Back stitch, come forward a couple of stitches, lift my needle, and just pull it out a little bit. We don't want it too much. We don't want it for where the cotton will come off the needle or go out from being properly threaded through the actual where the bobbin casing sits. Okay. And then I'll just turn them like this to the back of the machine so it's ready for my next project, which will be the other scrunchie. Okay, now, wrong end. I lost the end. Here it is. So we got a little hole. So always make sure, and I forgot to say this at the beginning, that you turn the material right side together, like so the pattern or the right side of the material are facing together before you stitch it. Otherwise you'll have the inside of the material facing out when you pull the scrunchie through, and you'll see that in a moment. So I've got my little hole there. You don't have to get in there and spread your fingers right open. You just need to get your fingers in enough and just push it up a little bit from underneath. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull. I think I've got hole on the other side. Yes, I do. There we go. That's scrunchie out, and you can see it's going right side out. And then you'll come to there. Now, I use cotton duck sometimes for scrunchies because some people that have thicker hair like to have a thicker material, or it's just personal preference, I guess. But I do make some of my scrunchies with cotton duck. This here, when you get to this section on cotton duck, it feels like it's not going to come with it. So all you do is you just push your finger down like this and you hold release as you pull it along. So that's your scrunchie without it being threaded, and we'll get to the threading part in a moment. So this is the little gap we had so we could pull that out. Now this isn't being sewn yet, so what we're going to do, being a stretched material too, it might roll a bit when you've sewn it as well. Hopefully it hasn't. So that's the scrunchie. Now, having it thread. Now, like I said, I didn't want to use white, beige, or black in this scrunchie. With your heavier, darker scrunchies, you can get away with using the black or whatever color you use. Most people just use white. I don't use hat elastics just for the simple fact that it's going to pull tight around your hair shaft, and it will eventually cause breakage to your hair or damage to your hair, and you don't want that. Okay, so we've got a swimwear elastic. This usually goes around the leg holes, the armholes. If they have a piece, if you're doing for females, they have that ruched piece in the middle for the breast area. It gets put there as well. Okay, so because this is super stretchy, I'm not going to do the usual length of mine. Now this will be for a regular scrunchie, so my usual regular scrunchie length for the elastic is 15 centimeters. This is when I'm using my normal elastic. If I'm using lingerie elastic or this swimwear elastic, we're going to go to 10 centimeters. So that's 10 centimeters there. It's super stretchy. Okay. Now I'm just going to turn that over. Try to cut it flat. Now, I've never used this elastic before, so your first time with me while I do this. Okay, so we've got that. As I said, look, it is super stretchy. Now, what we're going to do is, just have to grab my safety pins. I usually have a bodkin. I have to order some more of them in, which I will be doing later with an order of mine. This is my handy little sewing kit. Let's see where there they are. So I'm using safety pins to thread it through. It'd probably be better to use a bodkin for this. It's just a little piece of stainless steel that looks like a bobby pin or a hat pin, and it has a little metal ring around the middle of it, and the other end where the claws are larger than the main shaft, so that little piece doesn't slip off. So I'm just going to grab this, and you push it up the shaft and it actually clamps tight on it, which would be much better for this, but at the moment my other one has gone AWOL. I don't know where it is. I think I may know where it is, but I've already checked there once and it wasn't there. Like, have one time look and then look again. So I'm just using a safety pin. Be mindful of how you open these, because you can catch your fingers if you have it up here. You don't want a bloody mess everywhere. So what I do is I grab the bottom with my right hand. I use both hands, so I could do it either way. But I'm grabbing with my right hand at the bottom to show you, and I just press down this way and take it to the back. I don't bring it to the front unless I'm clipping it up. So that I'll make sure, or you can clip it up from the back as well. Okay, so we're going to put it through here. Now I'm hoping like crazy that this is not going to split the elastic. Doesn't seem to be. Okay, now push it fairly well down this part of the shaft. Now this is going to be my threading safety pin. Did that a little bit wrong. And with this one, I'm going to put it through here, and then I'm going to attach it to the end here. There are all different bodkins on the market. There's one that is super long and it's super flexible. To me, in all honesty, okay, you're going to thread it onto there and you're going to pull it through. To me, it's much of a muchness. I mean, this is my thing. I use safety pins, or I use the bodkin. If I can find my opening now. There we go. Now you'll always have the stitch seam facing you when you're threading your elastic. Just opening that a little bit. Like so. And I'm going to put it to one side. I'm not going to put it on the actual stitching itself. Grab it, make sure this side is straight. There's no twists in the elastic, because you don't want it twisted inside the scrunchie. Putting it through there, and then I'm going to place it through here. Oh gosh, the poor puppy is not happy across the road. Okay, and then I'm going to close that off, taking it around the back. Now I'm going to make sure that this is running flat. Like I said, you don't want to twist it. It will take away from how much length you've got for when you're actually yourself or your customer or your friends or family, whoever, co-workers that you're giving this to or selling it to. Now I will go through. Now I'm holding it there for a moment. You don't really need to do it, but I'm just showing you because I do not want this safety pin to release. Always make sure you push that way. Don't push that way, because you can actually spring the safety pin open. This will just take, and then I'll bring that around and I'll make sure that hasn't opened on me, and I'm still following the stitch line around. If that turns while you're threading, you know, make sure that it goes back in place. So we'll keep going. Okay, now we're coming to where we started to thread. You can see the head of the other safety pin there. I'm going behind it, not in front of it. Completely up to you which side you go. Okay, now that's the one that I've just pulled the scrunchie through. Now I'll pull that through just a little bit, grab hold of the end, This is where you got to learn to use both hands. And then I get to here and I unclip the safety pin, take it around the back, take it off the material only. Make sure you keep your elastic down there. You can't quite see it, but I'm actually holding, there it is, and it's off. Now we close that back over and I pull them like this. Oops, and I just pulled through. So that's a hard lesson learnt because I put that too close to the end of the elastic and I've pulled it straight out. So we will start with a fresh piece. This time I might just go with 15 centimeters and just have that super stretch in there. Okay, 15 centimeters, if you can see that, and up here, 15 centimeters. This is where the bodkin would go in really, really handy. I did drop that other safety pin on the floor, but nevertheless. So I'm just going to quickly, I might double that over. Just have to be mindful of that when we get to the end. Okay. Where are you? You're around here somewhere, and I've done it again. Okay. It's here somewhere. It's been around nearly once already. Oh my gosh, there it is. Oopsie. So, take this one. Now I'm going to pin it through this way first. Either way you can do it is fine. I'll just pop it through the center of that sequin. I wouldn't put it through the full ones. This one's got a hole in the middle of it. And no, it doesn't. It does, it just doesn't want to go. Okay, let's put it here. Just for argument's sake. Okay, just making sure that's straight, so I turn it over. So like I said, this is all a learning curve for all of us. So when you get to that end, you don't want to pull on it taut or very tight, whichever word you prefer to use. Okay, I'm just going to quickly thread this through. Get it in alignment, and it's not. It's telling me it's the wrong way. There we go. Okay. So we thread this through on here. You might think I'm going super slow. There it is. It's only going to go around a second time. Okay, now we're just going to be gentle with this. Pull that through. Do the safety pin a little bit. Make sure you just put your finger behind that just to hold it down. Close that over. Okay, just pull that down a little bit. You're not going to go too far now. Okay, I usually sew. I don't believe in knotting my elastics. A lot of people do. I'm actually not going to try and sew this because I don't have the correct foot on here, and I'm pretty sure I don't own the correct foot for sewing this type of elastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go against my own grain, and I am going to tie it off. Do you know what? We can actually try. There goes another safety pin on the floor. Okay, so machine forward. Now, I do pin these, so let's hope, make sure they're not twisted. I put about a finger thickness in from each edge. It's really hard to see on here. That's one end there and the other end's up there, so that's a good amount of length for it. This is probably where I should have clips and not an actual pin, but however, just going to clip that, pin that I should say, and it's not. Yep, I'm all hands at the moment and I've got big hands, so I'm sorry if it's in the way. I need to have that straight, and this is where my OCD kicks in really, really badly, and I do not want to pin myself, so I'm going to take this really, really slowly. Now, some of you are probably thinking, oh, that's a waste of elastic. Possibly is very much a waste of elastic, but the thing is, this is my first time sewing it, so just pull that a little bit. I'm not going to pull it very hard, being it's swimwear elastic and I've never used it before, but I try to get this as flat as possible, and we're just going to pop it right in the center. So you've got those two little walking feet on the bottom. You're not using the outside ones where it's going to damage it. Now, what I'm going to do, just pop that around there, make sure that material's out of the way. I'm actually going to use a zigzag stitch, and on my Simplicity digital sewing machine, it's number 5, the wider one. I'm not going to go number 6 because I think it's going to be too close together. Now I'm going to be very, very careful with this. I'm going to actually hand turn this, the first couple, then I'm going to just remove my sewing pin. Now you can put your needle down, take your foot up and take it out. This is why I'm doing it just with this elastic, because I do not want to, have failure number 2 happen. But it's all learning curve, like I said. So I'm just going to take it back a couple of stitches, and then I'm going to go forward again. Then end it. Oh, couple of stitches like that, and it comes out a little bit messy. It's stitched further up the elastic than I wanted, so I'm just going to be really careful and snip these loose threads because I don't want it damaging that. Okay, it looks really messy, and it's turned a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it from the other direction now. I'm turning it like that so I can get this end piece here sewn down. If you have any suggestions on how I can actually stop that from turning, please write it in the comment section below, because I'd love to hear from you all in regards to it. So I'm just going to take this back through. Don't know how this is going to work. So if someone can come up with a solution or knows a way of sewing this, I'm sure there's plenty of you out there who actually use this swimsuit elastic. So I'm just taking it through to where the actual needle goes down a little bit beyond it, because I'm really scared that it's not going to stitch properly. So I'm going to lower my needle, and I'm going to just go slowly with, no, it's not happening. That's probably what's happened. I've slipped it out the side. Okay, then I'm going to go back and bring the needle up. This looks so messy, everyone. I am so sorry. This is not my thing. And now my OCD is peaking something shockingly. Okay, as you can see, it looks like an utter utter mess. So anyhow, would be appreciated. I'd love to hear critiquing, nice critiquing. I haven't had it here, but I've had it when I've done lives. I've had people being really about it. I'm learning as I go, and like my granddad used to teach me, he said, Mari, he never called me Marie, he said, Mari, you learn something new every day. Well, my granddad was right, because every day of your life you will learn something new. You may not think it, but you will. So now that's done, it is a real hack job. Like, I do not like that. I'll trim that extra thread off there, like so. And then I'm going to pop it in here. So that's the little gap. Now I've turned that under, and it's really turned itself under as well. So I'm going to put it back on my straight stitch, and I'm going to line it up probably just inside the edge with the middle section of my foot. Don't want to do a lot of backwards and forwards stitching, because this is actually seen on the outside. Just taking it steady, because I don't want to miss the material, and I think it's trying to turn out on itself here. No, it was just the shadow. Bring the foot up, bring that out. I'm feeling a little bit more in my comfy zone. Okay, and we'll just trim this excess thread. I can get to it. Sounded like I cut the actual material, but I didn't. It was a little bit of the sequin, which I don't like with these scissors of mine. Swear I saw another thread. There it is. Okay. And there's the scrunchie done. Now what I do, I don't know if any other people do this, but I actually turn, so that's stretched out nicely, turn, so the actual stitching is on the inside of the scrunchie. I'll show you. I have it going against, there's a stitch there, I go against the inside of the elastic, and I do that all the way around. And what it does is it gives the scrunchie more volume. Well, in my opinion, it does. You make sure that you get it lined up all the way around. Yep. And I've overturned it too far that way. Okay, stretch material. It's not as fluffy as you cotton materials. It's a lot fluffier than what it was before. Fluffy, F-O-F-Y, that's my word. So there it is there. Some of it's turned back over. Pull that through. And there we have our neon apricot and neon fluoro orange, I should say, if you want to call it that. And to me, it's not a proper fluoro orange, but that is the scrunchie. Stay safe, take care, and I'll see you in my next vlog. Bye for now.